I would say I think the difference isn't necessarily that parents are gonna butt heads because the reality is you were if me and Shane, me and you were in a relationship, right? You were raised by two different people that were raised by four different people that were raised by eight different people that were raised by 16. And the same thing goes on my side. I don't think you know what I mean? We're gonna butt head because we both come from two different backgrounds. There's gonna be some overlap, but there's always gonna be differences in how we look at things, right? But I think the one thing that we miss out on is that how do you handle like the problem is how you handle conflict. It's not necessarily how that y'all differ on something, is that y'all not handling conflict. So if prior to the child, y'all were consistently always y'all were going back and forth and you learned and you know how to compromise with one another and you know how to handle arguments and conversations with one another before the kid, that's exactly how you should handle it after the kid. Y'all gonna differ on a lot of stuff. And I do tend to see people who are bad at argument, you know what I mean, are bad at communication and things like that prior to the child do tend to fall apart when the child is there. But I do see people who have had conversations and things like that prior to, and they work through things, even if they come to disagreements throughout their relationship, they tend to do the same thing when the children are born. Because they're not gonna see eye to eye on every single thing that you talk about or how you feel.
But honestly, how many of us really ask those questions like, what's your parenting style? Like asking circumstantial questions like, lay out a circumstance. What would you do if X, Y, and Z? How would you discipline our child? Or how would you approach this situation? We really don't ask those parental questions. So when it's time to become a parent, some of us get like sideswiped by the parenting style. Sometimes it's different, sometimes the approach is different. And I think that if you don't approach your parenthood like your relationship, it has to be the death of your ego. If you come in with ego, whether it's in a relationship or as a parent, it's so just toxic. And I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do it my way. Well, you do it your way over there, and I'm gonna do it my way over here. And that's the beginning of the end. So I think that compatibility, not just with romance, but with your morality and with your approach on life, how you handle things. Who some people wholeheartedly believe in roles. Do you feel like you should just be the disciplinary and I should just be the nurturer? Or do you feel like we have equal hands in both? Like it's all about compatibility, not just for a relationship, but in parenting style. Cause that be what's causing the conflict a lot of the time.
But
I think it's just a matter of the man not being strong and knowing his role as a husband and a father in a relationship. It's being weak and allowing himself to be manipulated into a situation where he has to compromise on the order of his household. I get a lot of guys come into my consultations and they don't realize the power they relinquish in a relationship, especially in a household, for a woman to be even questioning how should we have a style. If you're the leader and head of your household, as a leader, you're supposed to implement a strategy, a structure. And if she's supposed to be submissive like she is, she would yield to your structure. And there's no butt heads. There's no different priorities. There's none of that stuff. It all depends on the boundaries the man set and,
Misogyny.
and the misogyny.
It was some in my throat. Some in my
So,
throat.
Right.
so, dog. It's. You remember that book I was recommending called The Way of the Superior Man?
Yeah.
In the first two chapters, they talk about submissive and dominant energy in there. So, for DJ, if you remove masculine and feminine from it, and you talk about submissive and dominant energy, right? Because, in my opinion, it is some men who have to be in relation who end up in relationships with dominant women, and that works best for them, right? So, it's not my forte, but I recognize that there are people who do enjoy that. The main thing is the power dynamic. Like I think we often understate or overlook how important power dynamics are within relationships because all strife can boil down to the power dynamic. Um, when there's an unclear and this transcends just sexual relationships. This goes for how your kids behave, how you are at your job, how you are with anybody. If you're in a position of authority and there's somebody challenging that or pushing back and fighting you against that, it's either doomed if you can't get that person to trust you and relinquish that animosity or adversity to what you're saying to be able to get on board with whatever that plan is. And you see a lot of that occur in relationships where there's no clear power dynamic, or the person who would be the dominant in a relationship doesn't accurately depict ways to make the person who would have the submissive energy trust them. And in doing so, that submissive energy starts to say, hey, you become more inquisitive of things, not in a way where you want to learn, but in a way where you're challenging the person. Like you have no faith that they're doing the right thing for you, them, or anybody in return. So yeah.
I
You was
have
gonna
a
say something?
question though. Why do y'all think that an additional opinion is a challenge? I think two brains is better than one, four eyes is better than two, four ears is better than two. And it's a reason why it takes two. It takes two. God said it takes two, but you want to discount it and just make it one. I think it's really important to make sure that both are contributing to how this house is being built and the decisions that are being made, because it took two of us for a reason. So it should take two of us going forward.
Yeah, so it doesn't negate the fact that the other person has a voice or eyes or a valid opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's just after the deferral is made from whatever that input that person puts in, that the person with the submissive energy trusts the person with the dominant energy to move forward in a way that considers what they said and is hopefully making a decision that's best for the family, and it's not, or the business or the pack or whatever, or the kids or whatever it is. They trust it moving forward, that they don't question it in a way that's like I said
adversarial.
before, adversarial, right? Because questions are good. It's good to have people informed. It's good to have a discussion about something. It only becomes negative when the questioning is to sow discontent, or to challenge that person's competence.
I,
And if those things don't happen, then it should be perfectly fine.
but I think that if you feel challenged, then that's on you. It's not a matter necessarily of being challenged. It's just an additional opinion. And then you lay everything out. That's like, when you sit at the war table, everybody gives input. You could sit there and give the overall plan, but you need a team. A person without a team is nothing. So it really is a team effort, and it really is a contribution. Don't take it as a she's challenging my authority. That's ego.